The issue is not what they think of you. The issue is what you think of you. The only reason you're upset is because you agree exactly with what they're saying about you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Greg Stewart, and this is week 11 in a series to promote my book, I Cubed, Unlock the Inner Strength Behind Your Negative Emotions, coming out June 21st of 2025. The emotion that most closely aligns with the truth that all negative emotions are exposing something in us would be insecurity. When insecurity applies to our emotions, I will use the definition, something that is not firm or fixed, unsteady. This, I believe, is the gateway to the rest of the negative emotions as it relates to the foundation of our insecurity, value, and worth. Insecurity may be the base or the foundational level of the emotions in this book, but it is the richest, absolute richest, as far as revelatory information about ourselves. Insecurity means that we are not firmly founded in the facts about ourselves, whatever those facts may be. It is also related to the emotional intelligence skill of self-regard. So self-regard is the ability to respect and accept yourself, essentially like in the way you currently are, strengths and weaknesses. We have an objective view of ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses, and continue to work on ourselves. We accept where we are and are not trying to hide our weaknesses or inflating our strengths. Insecurity would then be something we don't like about ourselves, but that is not the only component, since every person on earth, obviously, ever doesn't like something about themselves. That's normal. Well, except for those with certain personality disorders, which we won't get into here, the issue is not that we don't like something about ourselves. It's that we don't want anybody else pointing out or exposing that thing that we don't like about ourselves. Like the blockbuster movies, The Matrix of Insecurities describes the contrast between the experienced world and the real world. The experienced world is where all the focus and energy centers on the people who, quote unquote, made us feel insecure. The real world is the unattractive world that shows us the real reason those comments have so much power. Another foundational defining moment for me was when I was 14 years old. I grew up in Michigan and was working at a local hamburger joint in Schoolcraft, Michigan. I was the classic super sarcastic teenage guy, but all of us who worked there were friends and readily talked trash with each other. However, one time, I took it too far, and I teased this girl so badly, I made her cry. That's not the worst of it, actually. As she was walking away, crying, I yelled out to her, "You wouldn't get so pissed off if it wasn't true." Don't judge me. That moment was an epiphany for me because right at that moment, I remember it to this day, I turned what I yelled at her onto myself. I said, "Oh my gosh, Greg, every single time somebody cuts you down, and you get defensive, you get angry and lash out, it's because it's true." As with other moments of revelation I mentioned, I started seeing that the same truth applied to everyone. When people are either just teasing each other or when they're really truly upset and want to insult one another and cut each other down, they choose to use information about that person that is negative but has truth to it. I've also observed situations when someone tried to insult another person, but the response by others was one of shock, saying, "What are you talking about? That person is nothing like that." They're confused by the insult. Or we use another form of sarcasm and tease someone by saying something that obviously isn't true, and everybody just kind of laughs and agrees because, well, everybody knows it's not true. What I want to uncover is what's behind the true negative emotion of insecurity and how to respond to it. There are three categories to insecurity. It's true, but I don't want it exposed. It's not true, but I believe it to be true. Or number three, true or not true, someone is gossiping about me and I'm insecure about what others are thinking and saying about me. If there's something I don't like about myself, whether it be a weakness, a failure, a physical feature, or my lack of success in an area, and someone points it out, what do I do at that moment? Well, if it's true, there's nothing to do but own it. Why hide it? Why get upset when someone points it out? It's true. So just agree with it and say you agree that you wish it was different. Throughout the years, I developed a strong dislike of the time someone had power over me and my emotions, kind of as we all do. It took a long time, but I kept asking myself this, though. Why am I giving them so much power? Instead of evaluating and processing them and attacking them in my mind, I started to figure out what was truly being exposed about me. The issue was in my emotional responses, not in others' choices. I don't want to give anyone or anything in the environment the ability to do something and then have me spend an incredible amount of time and energy responding to it. Intrapersonally, which is inside of myself, or interpersonally between people. Worse than this is when it's not true, but I believe it to be true. These normally come in broad stroke insults like you're ugly, you're stupid, you're an idiot, etc. Those insults are normally the insults that bullies use to gain power over another person. I have found the most effective response to these types of insults is to simply say, okay. The only way for these insults to work would be for us to get angry and defensive. But we all know if we do that, it never achieves the desired emotional goals of peace and confidence because our negative emotions response solidifies the lie in our mental models. The last example deals with how to respond to gossip. Sadly, I developed this skill while I was a pastor. People gossip everywhere when there's a community of people, including in churches. There are always those people in our lives who don't like us and actively try to hurt us. One common way is to openly discuss those negative items about us, whether they be true or not true. I recommend avoiding trying to control the gossiper. Of course, we should make every effort to build a relationship with those who think poorly of us. Even if it's true, we need to work at trying to recover the relationship and work on it. But sometimes it's not an achievable goal because they're not interested in having that relationship, but just kind of taking you down. Once I did everything I could to repair and develop that relationship, but to no avail, they just kept gossiping. I then started to process what I was insecure about. Namely, what was it exposing in me? It was the impact that the gossip would have on other people. So I turned my attention to those listening to the gossip. There are basically three groups of people that would hear this information that isn't true about me or maybe true or whatever. Those who love me, those who don't know anything about me or barely know me, or those who somewhat know me, but they only have a limited exposure to me. I didn't even worry about those who love me or those who don't know me because those who love me will either push back against the gossiper, ignore it, or come and tell me about it. Those who don't know me will just act confused and long for the conversation with the gossiper to be over. The only group I really found that I needed to be concerned about were those who somewhat knew me. It was always a case-by-case example, but if I cared about what those people thought about me, what I would do is I would proactively engage those people and simply own the truth if it was true. If it wasn't true, I'd simply ask them to have an open mind that what they heard about me may not be true about me. Especially as a pastor, I wanted to protect those people, especially if it wasn't true. But if it was true, I owned it. There are many other techniques to apply here, but the overall point is not to be afraid of what is true. Own it. And if you can change it, work on it and tell people you're working on it and go from there. Take the power away from the environment by having little to no negative emotion because you don't have any insecurities. So it's not a matter of not having weaknesses. It's a matter of being insecure about those weaknesses. I absolutely believe the power to do that is you can do that. It's a true statement. I have not perfected this in every situation, but I am close. And even when I do blow it, it's easy to recover. How would you feel if you were able to do this? So, The Matrix of Insecurity, Part 2, coming next week.